Welcome to the Third Wave Business Systems Credit Card Processing Application Instructional Video Series. My name is Dennis Tucker. I'm the Development Manager here at Third Wave, and in this fourth session we will be providing you with information on the batch authorization process, which allows you to bulk process document authorizations. We will review the different cases in which you may need to reauthorize a customer's credit card, and we will also explain how using the TWBS credit card markup functionality can help you in minimizing the amount of reauthorizing that you might need to do. The Third Wave credit card processing application is flexible enough to meet the needs of your business process to fill the void in SAP by providing you with the functionality to take in credit card funds from your customers, giving them flexibility to meet their needs and yours. Third Wave's credit card processing application helps you to manage your business better. So let's get started. The Batch Authorization Processing screen is a new custom screen developed in the SAP Business One user interface that allows you to select multiple documents at a given time and process them so that they can be authorized using the TWBS credit card processing application. The Batch Authorization screen is accessible through the Banking, Incoming Payments, TWBS Credit Card Processing menu, Batch Authorization menu option. The Batch Authorization form has a series of tabs. There will be one tab for each of the marketing documents, sales order, delivery note, invoice, or down payment invoice, that have been enabled for authorization on the TWBS Credit Card Configuration screen. Each tab will list the documents of that specific document type that are coded for the payment terms code set up on the TWBS credit card configuration screen that do not have an active authorization against the document. To include a document in authorization processing, simply click the checkbox to the left of the document number and click the Choose Card button. You must select cards associated with the business partner when using the batch authorization screen. The one-time card functionality for cards not associated with the business partner is not available on this screen. Double-click to the far left of the card for the business partner that you would like to use, and the card details will be populated on the line for the document on the batch authorization screen. You can enter the CVV code if you have it into the CVV code field if you would like to transmit the data. I'm going to select another sales order and follow the same process, choosing a card from the business partner record and entering a CVV code. Next, I'm going to go to the Delivery Notes tab and select a delivery note for processing. You can select documents across multiple tabs and process them all at the same time for authorization. I've entered a series of sales orders, delivery notes, and AR invoices into the system using the credit card defined payment terms code and not authorize them so that we can go through this screen, select a couple of each, and authorize them all simply by clicking the Authorize button in the left-hand corner of the screen. When you're processing multiple documents, it's important to remember that each document's authorization information will be transmitted to your credit card payment gateway separately, and each one will be individually authorized. There will not be one authorization covering all of the selected documents. Once we complete the authorization process, we'll illustrate that by drilling back to the originating documents that we've authorized and reviewing the specific authorization information for each document on the Credit Card Log tab of the document screen. Now that I've completed the document selection and credit card selection for each of the documents that I would like to process, I can go ahead and click the Authorize button in the lower left corner of the batch authorization screen. As the authorization process progresses, the status bar will indicate which document is currently being authorized. Should any of the selected documents fail to authorize, those documents will remain on the screen once the authorization process has completed. When the authorization process is complete, the data on the screen will refresh and any documents that were successfully authorized will no longer be visible on the screen. To view the credit card log details for the authorization of one of the invoices that was successfully authorized, I'll navigate back to the AR invoice screen for invoice number 309. click on the credit card log tab, and as you can see, an authorization for that specific invoice, only for the amount that that invoice required, was completed. The batch authorization screen does not factor in any markups set at the company level when batching the authorizations to your credit card payment gateway. This completes our demonstration of the batch authorization screen. The first reauthorization scenarios that we're going to examine are when increases in some factor of the document cause the document total to go above the previously authorized amount. These increases can be anything from the addition of new items to an order, an increase in the quantity of an item, or an increase in the price of an item. We'll also examine how a predictable added charge, such as a freight, can be accounted for by the use of our markup feature to reduce the number of times you need to reauthorize an order. For our first demonstration, I'm going to start with a sales order that I have already authorized through ThirdWave's credit card processing application. If I click on the credit card log tab, you can see that I have an authorization for $212, the total of the sales order as it currently exists. But if I go ahead and I update this order, either increasing the quantity of an existing item, increasing the price of an existing item, or simply by adding another item to the order, which in this case I'll add a second item, the document total will now exceed the amount that I have previously authorized. The document total is now $530, but I only have an authorization for $212. When I click the Update button on the sales order, the credit card application will prompt me that the total has increased and ask me if I would like to reauthorize this document. I do have the option to say no, but if I click Yes, the TWBS authorization screen will load with an updated document total. The increased amount not covered by the original authorization will appear in the balance due field in the bottom left corner. I'm going to type the new document total in the amount field because if I just hit the B key, it would only transfer the $318 from balance due that is not covered by the original authorization. There are checkboxes at the bottom that cannot be changed that will reauthorize the charges. This will be done by transmitting a void of the original authorization and creating a new authorization for the increased document total of $530. Please note that once the Authorize button is clicked, the void request for the original authorization is transmitted to your credit card payment gateway. The period of time that it takes for the merchant bank of the customer's credit card to release the funds back to the card so that they can once again be authorized is up to the merchant bank and is not under the control of ThirdWave Business Systems. When I'm ready to process this, I'll go ahead and click the Authorize button, and the data transmission will be initiated. Once the new authorization is complete, the authorization screen fields will lock down and the new authorization code will be visible on the form. If we return to the Sales Order Marketing Document screen and click on the Credit Card Log tab, new data will appear on the tab that will indicate the original authorization was successfully voided and a new authorization for $530, the new document total, was successfully created. You can also see a history of the transaction ID numbers and the authorization codes. Next, we'll take a look at what happens when you exceed the authorized amount when going from document to document. I'm going to copy our reauthorized sales order to a delivery note, and before I add the delivery note into the system, I'm going to go ahead and add a freight charge to it of an exempt tax code. I'll add $5 of freight to the delivery, and the new document total for the delivery note, $535, now exceeds the amount that we reauthorized at the sales order level of $530. I'll click the Add button to add the delivery note to the system, and once that delivery note has been successfully added, the TWBS credit card application will recognize that the amount is greater than has been authorized and will prompt you if you would like to reauthorize again. The process is still the same. If you click Yes, the authorization window will come up. You'll need to enter the new document total for the delivery and click the Authorize button. Once again, the initial authorization will be voided and a new authorization for the increased total will be created. The void and new authorization data for the delivery note is available on the credit card log tab, indicating that the $530 authorization was voided and a new authorization for $535 was created. What we're going to examine next is how the TWBS credit card processing application's markup functionality can help you in limiting the number of times that you need to reauthorize an order to assist with routine increases attributable to things like taxes or freight charges. Markups are set at the SAP company level on the credit card configuration screen and can be set either by an amount added to the document total or a percentage of the document total added to it at the time that the authorization is completed. Simply click the option button for the type of markup you'd like to add, either amount or percent, and add either the flat amount value to be added to the document total or the percent, in this example 10%, of the document total to be added afterwards. There's also an editing checkbox that allows the user to edit not only the amount percent type, but also the value at the time the authorization is completed for that one specific authorization. It's important to note that markup functionality is only available on sales orders and delivery notes, as once the invoice is added to the system, there's no expectation of additional charges being added to it afterwards. So let's look at a markup in action. I'm going to add another sales order to my system, but this time when I bring up the authorization window, I'll edit the markup and add one to the authorization to account for later charges. I'm going to check the amount option button and add a markup amount of $20 to my order. So now when I'm authorizing, I'm not authorizing for the $324.75 of the document total. I'm authorizing for $344.75 to account for additional charges coming down the line. Once the authorization, including the markup that I've added to the document total, is completed, I can go back to the Documents Credit Card Log tab to view the authorization data. You'll note that the amount that's listed on the Credit Card Log tab is the amount that includes the markup, so that it can be visible to the user that the amount authorized is greater than the document total. If I copy this now to a delivery, once again, I'm going to add another freight charge. I'll change the tax code of my freight charge to exempt, and I'll make sure that I enter a freight amount of $15, which is lower than the $20 markup that we added to the authorization of the original sales order to account for extra charges. So the document total of the delivery does not exceed the authorized amount of the sales order, which included the $20 markup. When we add the delivery to the system by clicking the Add button, the delivery note is successfully added, and the TWBS credit card application does not prompt you to reauthorize because it understands that the document total still does not exceed the original authorized amount and is covered without needing any additional funds to be authorized. A key aspect of using the markup functionality is that if this delivery went to invoice and the invoice total never exceeded the markup amount that was authorized, when the invoice gets settled, we would only settle for the amount of the invoice document total. Any authorized funds not used in the settlement of the invoice total would be released back to the customer at the time the invoice is settled. The next reauthorization scenario that we will examine is if an authorization has expired, meaning the number of days between the date the authorization was performed and the current date exceeds the defined reauthorization threshold on the credit card configuration screen and therefore is considered to have been expired at the credit card payment gateway. Expired authorizations can be handled through the Sales Order Reauthorization screen, which has a menu option under the Sales AR menu. On the Sales Order Reauthorization screen, there are two different tabs, the first of which is for expired authorizations, and the one that we will be concerned with for this demonstration. On this tab, you will see all of the sales orders listed whose authorizations were done prior to the date period of time defined in the reauthorization threshold. So for example, if your reauthorization threshold is set for 7 days and your authorization took place 8 days ago, your sales order will show up on this screen. The card details for the credit card used in the original authorization are pre-populated on the line on the sales order reauthorization screen. This would include any one-time cards not associated with the business partner that were used. These cards can be reused in the authorization without having to edit any of the details. To select an expired sales order for reauthorization, simply check the box to the left of the sales order number. If you want to change the credit card, you can do so by clicking the Choose Card button. However, you can only select cards that are associated with the business partner. One-time card functionality is not available on the reauthorization screen. It's also important to note, if your order had a one-time card on it, and you change the card details to a business partner associated credit card, and you process the reauthorization, you cannot recover the one-time card details at a future date. You are now stuck using a card from the business partner. That information cannot be retrieved. If you do select a new credit card associated with the business partner, the sales order reauthorization screen line will be updated with the details of the card that you selected from the Choose Card screen. Once you select each of the orders to be authorized and have updated their credit card information as needed, including entering the CVV code in the field provided, you can transmit individual authorization requests for each of the documents selected by clicking the Authorize button in the bottom left corner of the screen. Once the process is complete, the screen will update and any authorized orders will be removed from the screen. Please note that since the original authorization is considered to have expired, no void of previous authorizations will be transmitted before trying to create the new authorization request. If we drill back to a sales order and navigate to the sales order that we just reauthorized and look at the credit card log tab, we'll see a line for the original authorization and a line for the new authorization after the original had expired, with no void request between them. The last reauthorization scenario that we're going to examine is the case of partial deliveries. That's referring to situations where sales orders are authorized and have multiple items on them, and those items are broken up into multiple delivery documents and corresponding invoices. Authorizations cannot be broken up and attributed to multiple documents. So how do we handle those situations? Let's take a look. To begin the demonstration of a partial delivery, I'm going to add a sales order to the system that has multiple line items attached to it, and I'm going to create a single credit card authorization that covers the entire document total of $757.75. Now, what we're going to do after we create the authorization is we're going to go back to the sales order, copy it to a delivery, and only deliver one of the items and examine exactly what we need to do to cover this situation for reauthorizing the sales order in TWBS credit card processing. If I create the delivery note for the first item, I'm going to remove the lower priced item and then add the delivery note into the system. The authorization that exists for the sales order is more than enough to cover the amount of the first delivery, so there's no prompting by the TWBS credit card processing application. If we look at the credit card log tab for this delivery that we've created, you'll note that the amount of the authorization carried forward is for the full $757.75, even though the delivery total is only $541.25. It is extremely important to note that the $757.75 that's been authorized is only being attributed to the first delivery, and the $216.50 that's not needed will not be released back to the customer's account until that delivery note is converted to an invoice and the funds settled and captured into the customer's account. Now we'll bring up the sales order reauthorization screen again, and we'll take a look at the partially shipped orders tab. Once we refresh the screen data, you'll notice that our sales order, which has been partially delivered, is now listed. we need to authorize the remaining $216.50. Now, this can be done in a couple of different ways. If you copy the sales order to a delivery note, the application will understand that there are no open authorizations attributed to the sales order that can be used for the second delivery, and it will prompt you on the add of the delivery note if you would like to authorize the order. The other way that we can handle this is by using the sales order reauthorization screen. We can select the sales order to be reauthorized by clicking the checkbox to the left of the sales order number, and I'm going to change the credit card details to a different card on the business partner to demonstrate that the second delivery can be authorized under a different card. I'll select the Visa card off of the customer's business partner record, enter the CVV code for the card, and click the Authorize button in the bottom left corner of the screen to initiate an authorization for the remaining $216.50 needed. If we go back to the sales order and look at the credit card log tab, we'll now see a second line for the authorization that's going to be used to create the second delivery. Next, we'll create the second delivery from the sales order, and when we add that delivery to the system, we'll be able to see that the $216.50 authorization is now associated with the second delivery created from the same sales order. If this order had more than 2 items, and you knew that the second delivery was not going to deliver all remaining items from the order, it is possible to lower the reauthorization amount in the Reauthorize amount field on the sales order reauthorization screen to create an authorization only large enough to account for what's going to be delivered on the second delivery note, thereby reducing the over-authorized amount if the original delivery is not converted to an invoice and those additional funds released back to the customer before the second delivery is going to be created. For more information on ThirdWave's credit card processing or any of the other applications that ThirdWave offers, please visit our website at www.twbs.com. You can click the Contact Us link in the upper right corner of the page. Existing ThirdWave partners and customers can obtain more information through the support portal by clicking the Customer Support link in the upper right corner of the page. Thank you for your time and attention.